So I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and we were talking about authenticity and being genuine. And by and large, I feel like that's one of the more important traits or qualities to try and live by. I think in many ways, like authenticity is the key lever to happiness, is being able to be yourself and be authentic and be genuine. And I've always admired people who are really genuine. And by that I shouldn't have to say it, but I feel like in the world we live in, you do. It's not pretend, right? It's actually genuine. They actually are who they are. They say what they feel. They aren't worried about necessarily what other people think and allowing that to dictate what they do, versus doing it more like performatively or aspiring to be genuine or kind of using the guise of genuine to be something that they're not. I've always admired that. And I'd like to think some of my best friends, some people in my family, my wife even, fit that category. And that's why I was, attracted to them. But we were talking about it in the conversation, and I started to realize there might be a challenge for people that are naturally genuine, people that just comes to them, and from a young age it feels very easy and very comfortable and very natural to be genuine, to be authentic. And the reason I say that might be a challenge is, if you kind of accept the assumption, which I think most would, that nobody's perfect, right? We all have things that aren't great about us or things that we can improve upon. If you're a really genuine person who just kind of is who they are and stays true to that, when that works, right? If you're really genuinely a compassionate person, or you love animals, or whatever it might be, like, that's awesome. And oftentimes people will see that, and again, they'll be drawn to it. But if there's like a shadow side to it, if there's certain thing that you're really genuine about or really true or authentic to yourself, but it's not great, right? Like, let's just say you're really stubborn, and you kind of take this approach of like, well, that's just who I am. That's just me. Like, I'm being genuine. I'm stubborn. That's how I am. The problem becomes that when you're so naturally genuine, and that seems to serve you well for most of your life, when you run into that instance where it doesn't, you almost don't have the tools or the ability or the perspective to know how to improve that. Because if you think about self-improvement, in some ways, it can be about changing who you are. There's something about you that you don't like, or you feel like is subpar, or can be improved in some way. And you have to take steps to change yourself, to improve yourself. Now, sometimes that's trying to get yourself to be more who you already are, right? The thing that's bad about you is that you're being fake. You're being disingenuous. Your ego's getting in the way. Often that's the case. But sometimes it's not that. It's that the person that you are at your core, there's something that could be improved there. And if you don't know how to do that, if you've always just relied on the fact that I'm genuine and this is who I am and that's it, your ability to recognize that you need to improve and then know how to actually do it, it can be much, much harder, right? Contrast that with somebody who maybe isn't as genuine naturally. And throughout their life, it's been a process and an evolution, but they've gotten to a point where they've learned how to overcome that, right? They've learned how to overcome the things that they were too worried about what other people think, or different things that got in the way of them being who they really were. Well, they've seen it. They've seen the blueprint, they've learned the tools, they've learned the challenges and the pitfalls, they've figured out what works for them. So their ability, when they run into that next thing that they might have to improve upon or get better at or whatever it might be, in some ways it might be easier for them to do that, versus the person who's always been so genuine and true to who they are, and they run into that situation, they could feel somewhat lost and have really no ability, or at least less of an ability, to do that. It's much more of a challenge for them because it feels like they're tackling it for the first time. It feels foreign to what they're doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make an argument that being genuine is bad. I do think for those people that are naturally genuine, it's a blessing in many ways. It's an amazing thing, and I think oftentimes those are really good people, and in many ways I aspire to be like that. But I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a bit of a wrinkle in that. There is a bit of a challenge, because in some ways it gets to the point of, adversity makes us better, it makes us stronger. When you haven't had to face that adversity, because it's just been who you are, it's been easy to be genuine for whatever reason, right? The way your nature versus nurture kind of played out. Maybe it's more physiological and it's something about the hormones and the way your mind functions. Who knows, right? Whatever the reason is, when you've had that luxury to an extent, when it's tested, when it's challenged, when you need to figure out a way how to overcome something that is not great about you, that can be problematic.